forms. If anyone would like to address the board at the appropriate time, fill that form out, return it to the board table. We will begin this meeting with our good news reports. This is Peter Lowing.
Here's mine.
Okay, so good evening. You can slide down, it's nice. So our interns just started this week for our summer internship program. We have 4 students who are participating and they just started. So we will have a board scheduled to them. So for tonight, you get me, unfortunately. So here's the good news report. Central Elementary School held their Color Run fundraiser. Students gathered donations from friends, family, and local businesses to raise money to fund future activities for the school. Together, the students raised over $7,100, and they got to enjoy a fun walk around the school while being sprayed with colored water. Great job to our Central students. Our Portage High School students participated in the Class Olympics on the last day of school. Each class competed in relay events to earn the title of class champions. After the wheelbarrow race, 100-meter dash, softball throw, egg race, and tug of war, the freshman class was victorious. The event served as a fundraiser in which students and teachers could purchase snow cones and donate money during the event. Together, they raised over $2,000. Half of the funds raised were donated to ALS research in honor of PHS principal Max Gill, and the other half was donated to his family. We are proud of our high school students for participating in this philanthropic event. Our boys track and field teams had a successful run at the state competition last weekend. The team finished 7th overall, and we had several students place in their individual events. Congratulations to the following team members. Trey Sieben placed 2nd in the 100-meter hurdles and 300-meter hurdles. Brandon English placed 6th in shot put, and Trey Sieben, Zach Warchus, Miles Cisco, and Jakar Gordon placed 5th in the 4x100-meter relay. PHS sophomore Gina Butts attended the state girls track and field meet in high jump, and she made us Portage proud with a 12th place finish out of 28 participants. Our summer meal program kicked off June 3rd. Families are welcome to join us at one of our 11 locations throughout the summer to enjoy breakfast and lunch. All children under the age of 18 can enjoy their meals for free. Adults may also eat for just $2 for breakfast and $3 for lunch. The Founders Square Splash Pad location has been one of our more popular ones, serving over 100 people in just one day. Thank you to our food service department for all they do to provide these meals for our community. Aylesworth Elementary School hosted a career fair for their students. Family members and local businesses attended the fair to speak to our students about their jobs and what they will need to do to obtain a career in that field. The students and participants both had a great time. PTS is hosting a number of summer camps for our students. There are 8 sessions, each lasting 4 days. The first official session started today with a creative writing camp and a physical fitness camp. The camps will take place each week through August 1st. Our hardworking students at Fagley Middle School had a unique opportunity during the last week of school. Students who reached their quarter 4 academic goals, including improving their NUIA scores and reaching their accelerated reader goals, were put into a drawing to throw a pie at their favorite administrator. 6 students earned this opportunity and enjoyed themselves. Even though they were pretty sticky at the end of it, Mrs. Cavallero, Mr. Bashan, and Mrs. Combs had fun too. Jones Elementary School held their annual walkathon fundraiser to raise money for next year's school events. The students gathered sponsorships, and together they raised over $11,000, far exceeding their $10,000 goal. They celebrated with a walkathon, field day activities, and snow cones, and I'm personally pretty proud of them because I was a Jones kid, so that was pretty cool. Fagley Middle School held their inaugural 8th grade recognition ceremony on the last day of school. Families joined the class of 2023 to honor their hard work and celebrate all they have accomplished in their time at Fagley. Congratulations to our soon-to-be freshmen, and thank you to the administrative team, including Principal Mrs. Cavallero, for bringing this fantastic event to Portage. I would like to give a shout out to her because it was fantastic, and I've been hearing amazing things into the community about this event, so it was very, very well received. Some of our upcoming events, the Portabots will be hosting a summer camp from June 24th through the 27th. Students in grades 5 through 9 are welcome to come learn more about the robotics program and what our award-winning teams do during their seasons. The Exchange Club of Portage will be rededicating the Freedom Shrine at Portage High School West on Wednesday, June 12th at 8 a.m. And of course, we have the next mobile marketplace coming up at Willow Creek Middle School this Thursday, June 13th at 4 p.m. And that's your good news report.
Thank you. Lots of great things going on in the school. Okay, we'll move on to agenda adjustments. Are there any adjustments by anybody today? None. Board development. Trustee Milletta, myself, Park Department, Buildings and Grounds and Finance. We did not meet since our last meeting, so really nothing to report there. And then Trustee O'Frisco, who is not here, I believe, does have a legislative update. Is that right? So we'll
There are several.
Federal flash. He loves these.
Work. Hi, I'm Lindsay Dworkin, and I'm joined by Ann Heislip. This question was posed by Representative Josh Harder this week in Newsweek. And while I couldn't tell you why Secretary DeVos would propose this cut, I can tell you that the House of Representatives rejected it. That's right, Lindsay. Earlier this week, the House Appropriations Committee passed legislation to fund the U.S. Department of Education for the next fiscal year on a party line vote. Overall, it would provide $75.9 billion to the department, nearly $14 billion more than requested by President Trump, who had proposed to cut its budget by 12%. Instead, House Democrats increased the department's budget by 6.2%, $4.4 billion more than it received last year. Instead of the flat funding proposed in the president's budget, Title I, the largest source of federal funding for K-12 students from low-income families and special education, would each get a $1 billion increase in the House bill, for a total of $16.9 billion and $14.3 billion, respectively. President Trump had also proposed to eliminate Title II grants supporting professional development for educators and Title IV student support and enrichment grants. House Democrats, however, rejected those cuts, with Title II funded at $2.6 billion, an increase of $500 million, and Title IV at $1.3 billion, an increase of $150 million. And the literacy program Representative Harder asked about? Rather than cutting comprehensive literacy development grants, the House provided the program with a $5 million increase for a total of $195 million. But there was one noteworthy cut in the House Democrats' bill. Funding for charter schools was reduced by $40 million, a 10% cut, which many see as a signal of growing opposition to charter schools among Democrats. In addition to funding, the legislation also includes several policy directives. Notably, it directs Secretary DeVos to issue guidance clarifying that Title IV funds cannot be used to purchase guns or for gun training. And it directs the department to use $170 million for social emotional learning grants. It is important to remember that these dollar figures and directives are proposed by the House Appropriations Committee. They'll need to pass the full House and be reconciled with the Senate, which has not yet released a spending bill. Reaching consensus will be difficult as there is no agreement between the House and Senate or between Democrats and Republicans on how much should be spent this year by the federal government. So we're just at the beginning of what is sure to be a long and contentious process. Thanks, Lindsay. This month marks the 65th anniversary of the landmark Brown versus Board of Education Supreme Court decision. Last week, the House Committee on Education and Labor held a hearing on the state of education since Brown. Committee Chairman Bobby Scott said, quote, "After 4 decades without federal support for desegregation, we are right back where we started." He cited data from the Government Accountability Office, showing that the number of schools where at least 3/4 of students are both low income and African American or Latino increased from 9% of public schools in 2000 to 16% in 2013. To commemorate the anniversary, we are launching a year-long campaign to ensure the nation pays attention to the unfulfilled promise of the Brown decision. In announcing the campaign, All for Ed President Deb Delisle said, "On May 17th, public officials will issue statements and organizations will hold events to recognize Brown's 65th anniversary. But one-day events are not enough for the students who attend schools with leaky roofs, no heat, and not enough desks for every child." Beginning on May 17th and continuing every month for a year, All for Ed will share an issue and supplemental materials related to the unfulfilled promise of Brown versus Board. Join us at allfored.org/brownvboard or at #OurChallenge, That's all for today. For an email alert when the next Federal Flash is available, email us at alliance@allfored.org. Thanks for watching.
Legislation aims at reducing the need for students to take remedial coursework in college, while the House Education Committee advances 2 desegregation bills on the eve of the 65th anniversary of Brown versus Board of Education. Hi, I'm Philip Lovell, and I'm joined by Ann Heislip. Let's begin with the Senate bill on remedial coursework. Ann?
Thanks, Philip. Yesterday, Senators Doug Jones from Alabama, Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota, and Maggie Hassan from New Hampshire introduced the Promoting Readiness in Education to Prevent Additional Remediation and Expense, or PREPARE Act, to align high school with the expectations of higher education. The bill supports activities to improve high school graduation requirements, expand access to advanced coursework like dual enrollment in early college high schools, strengthen remediation at the post-secondary level, and more. Remedial college courses, which focus on high school level material, cost the same as credit-bearing courses, but do not count toward a student's degree. As a result, remediation delays time to degree, increases college costs, and rarely helps students graduate. More than 1/3 of all first-year college students take some type of remedial coursework. Even worse, among traditionally underserved students like African American and Hispanic students, the numbers are much higher.
In a statement supporting the bill, All for Ed President Deb Delisle said, quote, "Remedial courses are more likely to lead to disappointment and debt than they are to degrees. The PREPARE Act is an effective solution to ending a practice that cuts short the dreams of so many college students, especially those who are historically underserved." In addition to All for Ed, the PREPARE Act is endorsed by Education Reform Now Advocacy, the Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities, National Association for College Admissions Counseling, National Association of Secondary School Principals, National Urban League, Third Way, and others.
On the other side of the Capitol, the House Education Committee approved 2 bills aimed at reducing racial segregation in schools. The Strength and Diversity Act will promote community efforts to integrate schools. The second bill, the Equity and Inclusion Enforcement Act, will restore private right of action to file disparate impact claims under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. Essentially, the bill aims to provide students with remedies for civil rights violations. Education Committee Chairman Bobby Scott championed the legislation, saying, quote, "The legacy of systemic inequality and racial segregation continues to deny millions of children the opportunity to reach their full potential. Instead of confronting this injustice, the federal government has continually retreated from its role in promoting school diversity, erasing decades of progress toward educational equity. These 2 bills will help reverse that trend." Despite objections from Republican members of the committee, the 2 bills were passed on a party line vote.
One last note. Today is the 65th anniversary of the landmark Brown versus Board of Education Supreme Court decision. To commemorate the anniversary, we're launching a year-long campaign to shine a light on the continuing needs of students who, more than 6 decades after Brown, are still not receiving the education they deserve. Even after today's anniversary is over, we want to remember how Brown v. Board provided hope when hope was needed. We also want to understand how that hope has faded for so many students, especially those facing the greatest challenges. Join us over the next year as we explore issues of equity and the unmet promise of Brown versus Board of Education. Visit allfored.org/Brown v. Board to hear from students, learn important things about Brown, and access classroom resources, news articles, and research reports. You can also share your thoughts with us on Twitter using the hashtag #OurChallengeOurHope.
That's all for today. For an email alert when the next
Passed legislation protecting Dreamers. Legislation was introduced in support of middle schools, and new data was released on the implementation of the Every Student Succeeds Act. Hi, I'm Philip Lovell, and I'm joined by Lindsay Torkin. Let's begin with the Dreamers. Lindsay?
Thanks, Philip. On Tuesday, the House of Representatives passed the American Dream and Promise Act by a vote of 237 to 187. 7 Republicans joined all Democrats present for the vote in supporting the measure. The legislation would provide a path to citizenship for undocumented young people who have been in the United States for at least 4 years and meet certain requirements, such as being enrolled in high school or admitted to college. After living in the U.S. for 10 years, Dreamers would gain permanent resident status if they have worked for at least 3 years, have completed at least 2 years of higher education, or completed at least 2 years in the military.
The bill is good news for those jeopardized by President Trump's decision to cancel DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program. But good news is not legal certainty. The Senate would need to pass and the President would need to sign the American Dream and Promise Act in order for it to become law. This seems unlikely. The White House threatened to veto the bill, saying the legislation, quote, would only exacerbate illegal immigration and the exploitation of our immigration laws. While the legislation tries to make its way through Congress, DACA is on life support in the courts and may be taken up by the Supreme Court in the coming weeks.
Also on Tuesday, Representative Raul Grijalva and the U.S. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse introduced the Success in the Middle Act. The bill would provide new funding for middle schools to identify and implement best practices to improve student outcomes and increase high school graduation rates. Upon introducing the legislation, Representative Grijalva said, quote, despite success in the middle school years being one of the most pivotal indicators of future success and achievement, middle grade education remains grossly underfunded in school districts across the country.
Here at the Alliance for Excellent Education, we've documented the chronic underfunding of the middle grades at the federal level. As you can see in this chart, there's a striking difference in the level of funding provided to middle and high schools compared to early childhood and higher education. The Success in the Middle Act aims to address this gap in support and funding for middle schools. All for Ed President Deb Delisle praised the legislation, saying that the middle grades are an absolutely critical time for ensuring that every child develops the knowledge and skills needed for future success in high school and beyond.
And off Capitol Hill, the Center on Education Policy released new data on the implementation of the Every Student Succeeds Act, or ESSA. Under the new federal law, states are required to identify 3 categories of low-performing schools for support. The lowest performing 5% of Title I schools and high schools with graduation rates below 67% are identified for comprehensive support and improvement. In addition, schools are identified for targeted support and improvement or additional targeted support and improvement based upon the performance of historically underserved students.
The CEP report found tremendous variability across states in the percentages of schools identified for support. 8 states have identified more than half of their schools for support, whereas 13 states have identified 10% or less of their schools. The full report, including state-by-state data, is available at the link below.
That's all for today. For an email alert when the next federal
Okay, a lot of stuff there. Anybody have any comments about that? Okay, we'll move on to old business. Item 5.01, advanced imaging update. Anything on that, Dr. Ellis?
At this point in time, no, I know Mr. Elwood is working with our internal team, analyze further. Mr. Elwood, did you have anything?
No updates on.
We'll move on to new business, the ratification of the K-12 device protection plan agreement for the 2019 and 2020 school year.
You have the memo of this, and it is specific to contracting with K-12 Tech to cover our devices. This is an Indiana-based company. The coverage of 5,086 devices is included for the total cost, and it is a savings from our previous protection plan. We've had some really good success, and want to move forward with this protection plan in particular.
And this contract was reviewed, is it a 1-year contract or 2-year contract?
1-year contract.
It's 1-year contract, correct. This has been reviewed by our HR director, and she did complete the internal review form for the contract routing form.
We have a motion?
Make
a motion, excuse me, I make a motion to approve the ratification of the K through 12 device protection plan agreement for the 2019-2020 school year.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Can you call the roll, please?
Trustee Clancy?
Yes.
Trustee Vasquez, yes. Trustee Maleta?
Yes. Move on to item 6.02, ratification of Tyler Technologies agreement.
Excited to bring this forth before the board. We've had Tyler Technology, which is the VersaTrans software that we utilize in the transportation department. However, as you know, we also have additional software that the board has asked for us to review and see if we have opportunities to save dollars and also align our practices where we can have cross-training throughout that department on one significant software program that can do a strong majority of the workload, because we were having 4 or 5 different software pieces. This is Tyler Technology provides this for us, and it has been in particular looked at by our IT department with Mr. Lesich and his team, as well as Mr. Ellis and his team in transportation, and it has been reviewed and the internal approval from HR for the actual language.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the ratification of the Tyler Technologies agreement.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Clancy?
Yes.
Trustee Vasquez, yes. Trustee Maleta?
Yes. Next, item 6.03, ratification of renewing the NUIC agreement.
The NWEA agreement is attached here. This is the assessment that provides us information about our students' growth and performance. We utilize this throughout the district. It's a nationally normed test that the school board brought on years previous to my superintendency, and we get a lot of good achievement information and can really gain our students' ability to grow in their performance and want to continue that.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the ratification of renewing the NWEA agreement.
A motion, a second. Any discussion?
I know that using this assessment is very helpful for teachers, of course, to look at whether students need more attention in terms of areas of strengths and weaknesses. And it's also another tool that teachers and administrators can use when meeting with the parents to accomplish this.
Another point that I think has been really a benefit to our students and families, as well as those classroom teachers, is the ability to differentiate based on a student's individual performance level. We are fortunate to have Study Island, that NWEA result takes that information into Study Island and develops an individual pathway for that student based on what they're ready to learn. And Khan Academy does the same thing so Study Island does it for both. Khan is specific to math, but our teachers utilize that when there's opportunity to differentiate instruction based on student individual needs. Parents are also encouraged that on those one-to-one devices to allow students to get in online at home and do those things. And I know there's a lot of requirements at the middle school level in particular, high school in some instances, where they're required to do a certain number of minutes of those programs. So again, they're that personalized learning that High Reliability Schools is really helping us get to. And also we know that with Digital Promise and future League of Innovative Schools and Future Ready, that whole idea of personalizing the learning based on their individual needs, this assessment helps us to be very clear in drilling down to what they can do and what they are able to learn.
It's also a great resource for identifying students who need RTI instruction, response to instruction.
Great. And this is a 1-year
This is a
contract
1 year.
as well, no auto renewal.
Correct.
Okay, any other discussion? If not, call roll, please.
Trustee Clancy?
Yes.
Trustee Vasquez, yes. Trustee Maleta?
Yes. Next, we have item 6.04, the ratification of the IDOE SFSP vendor agreement to provide meal snacks.
This is the agreement that in particular discusses the ability to provide meals and snacks for our students. Based on this agreement, the pricing of our meals, which includes breakfast $1.75 each and lunch at $2.75. And of course, fully knowing that that our students with free and reduced lunch are also included in the ability to get these lunches, just at either discounted rate or free rate.
Is that a change in from the past?
We always go with what the state states is the recommended rate for the following year. So I can absolutely get that to you. I'm not sure if they kept the rate the same or if they increased it, but we always go with what their recommended rate is.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the ratification of the Indiana Department of Education FSP vendor agreement to provide meals and snacks.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not call roll, please.
Trustee Campbell. Yes. Trustee Vasquez, yes. Trustee Maleta.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to item 6.05, approval of the overnight field trips by Portage High School basketball team competition in Salem, Indiana, June 14th through the 16th, 2019. Basketball tournament in Plainfield, Indiana, June 17th and 18th, 2019. Indiana Wesleyan University for the basketball team camp, June 21st to the 23rd, 2019, and Ball State for a dance camp on July 13th through the 16th, 2019. IU Bloomington for a cheer camp on July 15th through the 18th, 2019. We have a motion to approve the overnight field trips.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Call roll, please.
Trustee Clancy.
Yes.
Trustee Vasquez, yes. Trustee Maleta.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to superintendent reports.
I did have a few items to share with the board. First of all, the graduation ceremony yesterday evening, as you know, it takes a lot to make those plans happen. In particular, the IT team, the data team, the maintenance team, custodial team. As you saw yesterday, Mrs. Williams with Title I was also driving one of our carts.
I saw her almost run somebody over.
So it really takes a lot of effort. I believe I started receiving the first calls when we were watching the radar very closely about 8:30 in the morning. The team had already started to assemble here, and the last text message came from Mr. Lesage at 9:45 last night that everybody was headed home. So just want to shout out to the entire team as they want to make that so special for the families and our students. And you always give such great accolades for the ceremonies. And again, just thank you for always participating and also wanting it to be a very good opportunity. And I believe there's been a couple references made that may have been one of our largest turnouts in a very long time. I mean, as you saw, there wasn't a single spot left on either side, and we may have also had a record in how quickly we read the names, but I think it kept moving, and it was a beautiful ceremony. The kids enjoyed it, the families did a great job. So again, just another great tribute to what we do to put our students first, and celebrating alongside them is always a great thing. I also wanted to share with you that the summer school is currently taking place. We've just finished our first week of summer school, K-12, and starting into the second week, they're enjoying having Fridays off as well, so that's a great thing. And our summer meals program is off the ground running, and I want to thank Teresa and Food Service and her team, as that's always a big undertaking, and it's always very well received in the community. We intentionally placed some of our sites, such as Kyle, so that we're right there by the splash pad. So some just different things to make sure that we've got a lot of opportunities out there. Mrs. Devers-Lowy specifically mentioned the summer camps. They have been a big hit. I had a meeting last week with Mayor Cannon, and he had specifically mentioned he's hearing a lot out and about families being excited about the summer camp. So he he had mentioned that, and we've gotten a lot of feedback from families excited for those opportunities. And then we will be doing some all calls as camps, right before our next session is going to start, because there's a lot of variety of what our students have the opportunity to engage in those enrichment camps this summer. Also, again, that mobile market that's scheduled coming up, as was mentioned in the good news report, we will continue to do that through the summer. Very well received. Mrs. Deavers-Lowy and her students had completed a survey with families, and we were of the belief that maybe the later evening times are better for families, but they actually expressed that the 4 o'clock time slot is really better for them. So we're going to continue to keep that open from 4 to 6. They really like the earlier time slot better. So that's a helpful bit of information that we'll continue to get feedback from those who are utilizing the service. And there was a significant amount of individuals who completed that survey for us.
Are you still in need of volunteers?
Yes. Our students for the ROTC program have been great with volunteering, but I'll make sure to get those upcoming dates to all of you so that in the event that anyone would like to do some volunteering, we absolutely can always use the extra hands, and opportunity for help to carry the boxes out to the cars, as our elderly citizens struggle with, so it always helps to have extra hands. Also, this summer retest of iRead just was completed. We're finalizing our scores, and I will be able to get that update to you for those students who needed to retest this summer. So that information will be forthcoming. Our curriculum teams for high reliability schools are off and meeting this summer. It's been great so far. I know we've had third grade meet. I know we've had the middle school teams meet. They're really just digging into the hard work, and it's great to see the amount of work that these teachers are willing to do on their off time to make sure that they're ready for the fall for our students and to continue to increase achievement. Our social emotional learning teams are working alongside Mr. Wilson, as you know. They are looking at possibly hosting a regional meeting in Portage, and we are still continuing to work with them in the hopes of eventually securing a date where we could host the Whole Child Summit. Mr. Wilson mentioned downstate that they don't typically come up to our region, and so with the need in Northwest Indiana, we would love to host that. And they did come up and visit our sites at the high school. They would like to explore possibilities of hosting it here, and the feedback they gave us regarding the relationships between students and adults at the high school that they witnessed as they toured our facilities, they were very impressed with what we're doing with social emotional learning. They asked us what the key was, and we said it's putting relationships first, because without that piece, it's, achievement can't happen until they trust you and they know you care. So it was a great opportunity to have the state come in and share some feedback. Elementary principals are finalizing their summer reading plans, and then I will be signing off on those this week that are always due to the state. We're also finalizing our professional development plan for 1920, and I'll be getting that to you. We surveyed not only our teaching staff, but also our support staff to see what areas of interest and need they feel they need for professional development. Staying in line with professional development, our health assistants and our nurses went to training today on Stop the Bleed. This is something that we're expanding throughout the district, and it's just a good training that has been offered, and so we are taking advantage of that. We're finalizing some hiring for 1920. We, as you know, did not have a lot of teaching positions open. Our teachers are staying with us, as we know that is great for us moving forward as we invest in planning and professional development. And we do have a phenomenal teaching staff, so I'm very excited that we have very few openings this year. The summer series, Mr. DePasquale and the team are working, that will be August 8th and 9th for our teachers. Again, we use teacher feedback to help plan that. And we, for the first time, are going to have a summer series for our support staff. They also provided feedback. Theirs will be August 12th. And the survey results that came in, they wanted in particular school safety, behavior intervention, social and emotional supports, and instructional support in the classroom and how they can best assist in the needs of our students. So it was a really good end result for us that was put together by Mr. King. He developed the survey and then also developed the professional development day for them. I will be bringing before the board the substitute teaching requirements for Porter County. The county has decided to move forward with going with what the state requires. We had some additional requirements, and we really feel that there are great candidates in our communities that would love to be a part of our substitute teacher pool. In particular, those room moms who just love to be in the school and are gonna be there regardless. So they meet qualifications with the high school diploma according to the state of Indiana, so we would like to encourage that. And I will be bringing that recommendation before the board soon.
Would you be including, recommendation from the building administrators
Yes,
for that? Okay.
yes, we would. And also reference checks, there are various things that are in there, yes. So the requirements as far as obtaining the ability to substitute in our district are beyond what is minimally required, but the educational component is a high school diploma required. That's their educational component, and that's what we're looking to do. The great thing is too, when we do that interview process and get those recommendations moving forward, we'll be able to say to these individuals, are there certain buildings that you would like to sub at, and at what level do you feel most comfortable? So, you know, someone may very well say, I don't want to do high school math, you know, but or my kids go to Bagley and go to Jones, and I'm very comfortable with those two buildings, and I would love to sub in those two buildings. So, and then the last thing I had is just some information for you. Mr. Ellis has, as you know, stepped up, and now he oversees transportation and custodial. And he has been very committed to the whole movement of going green, and we're putting a launch of all the various things we're doing in the district to include the things that he's put in place, as well as that Mrs. Devers-Lowry has put in place, and the rest of the team with paperless options and those things. But also, just wanted to share with you that we have changed our hand sanitizer and our soap to be fragrance-free and also free of any type of chemical that is more harsh on the skin. So just another great thing so that our kids and our staff have those fragrance-free things, so that allergies and different things. So that was something that happened this week that I just thought was a nice thing to mention. That's all
Any comments or questions on that report?
I would also like to add about our graduates of the nearly 600 students that graduated. They were very respectful when they shook our hand. They were so excited. And as we were leaving, there were some families that were saying, thank you to the teachers for everything that you have done for our children and making this day possible. So I just thought I wanted to share that.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, and to reiterate, those who organized it and did the hard work, I mean, the looming weather and everything, it came out without a hitch. I mean, it was really, it was a very well done, and which is what our parents and our kids deserve. So that was good to see. So it was an exciting night. That's always fun. It's the best night of the year.
Yeah, it was a great one.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Okay. Anybody have anything, items that are not on the agenda they'd like to discuss? Not? Did we receive any public comment forms? I don't think so. Upcoming meetings, June 24th is our regular board meeting at 5 p.m. And June 21st is our finance committee meeting at 4 p.m.
The only other item I had is I was going to propose Monday, July 15th at 5 p.m. to change the July 8th discussion meeting as I had asked the board. So if you could check your calendars, and then I'll, of course, Mrs. Lindgren had shared with me that she would send that date out so that everyone has that to check their availability, July 15th instead of July 8th.
Okay, so we'll get that out, and then we'll be prepared to make that change on our next meeting. Okay, if there's nothing else, meeting adjourned. Thank you. You gotta go. So we'll skip that. Probably the session.